Welcome to Tales from Flat Space. I'm LJ Spencer, your author and narrator. Just know that the novels in this podcast may contain content that could be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. So this is part 5, Misfits, chapter 37, Carol. Well, looks like I'll have some people to beat up after all, I said to myself, once Spot and Tanish disappeared. And the men that had come out of the bar stopped short, surprised that Tanish had disappeared and that I was waiting for them in her place. "What are you? Bull-dyke soldier or something?" yelled one of the goons. I raised an eyebrow. Wow, I would have thought that Earth had gotten over this tired, bigoted bullshit centuries ago. How uncivilized. "Hey, where's the dog?" said another guy. "Shit, that didn't look like any dog I've ever seen," another blurted out. "You ever seen a mutt with silver skin like that?" "Fuck this," said a guy in the back. "This is too fucking weird. She already took care of these assholes. It's too damn cold for weird ass shit. I'm out." He and 3 other guys turned and went back into the bar. I grinned. "Anyone else want to get out of here?" The biggest guy of the group laughed. "You must feel like a big shot in that fancy suit of yours. I bet you can't take us without it." The 5 other guys that stayed laughed, albeit a bit nervously. "All right, I'll take that bet," I said cheerfully. "If I win, you all go to jail." The big guy laughed again, and the others laughed with him. "If we win, you're gonna die." I shrugged, then said, "Suit open." I stepped out of the suit and stood there in my jumpsuit. "Suit, stand by." The suit closed and moved about a meter away from me. "So, fellas, who's first?" I felt uncommonly cheerful at the impending fight. 3 out of the 6 came charging at me, running over the guys that were still unconscious. The first one, I kicked in the balls, then kneed in the face as he doubled over. I heard someone come up behind me and horse-kicked him in the stomach. The third guy came at me with a wooden bat. I grabbed it, using his weight to pull him to the ground, then crushed his shoulder with my foot. His bones gave a very satisfying crunch. "Who's next?" I yelled. The big guy looked angry as his 2 buddies behind him decided that would be best to run off. "Come back here, you fucking cowards!" he yelled after him. I laughed loudly. The big guy turned back to me, his face turning red, growling as he launched himself at me, which I deftly sidestepped. He fell flat on his face in the bloodied snow, roared, then got back up. Before he could charge again, I kicked him in the chest, throwing him backwards. I started to axe kick him in the balls when he rolled out of the way. "Oh, you have a few brain cells after all, big guy?" I said as he lumbered off the ground. He didn't answer except to rush me again. I stepped to the side, clotheslined him, and he went down, flat on his back. I stood over him, then sat hard on his chest, knocking the air from his lungs, putting my elbow to his throat. "Looks like you lost this bet, buddy," I said sweetly. He nodded. "The authorities have been called, Carol," said Tony through the bots. "They're on their way." "Thanks, Tony," I said through the bots, then looked down at the guy under me. "Now, here's the thing, cutie. The local authorities are on their way. I'm not sure how they're going to deal with this, so I'll just say this. I've put a tracker on each one of you. If any of you so much as insults a woman again, I'll know, and I'll come back. Got it?" The man nodded, looking terrified. I smiled widely as the sirens came closer. "But I also can't have you giving these folks a hard time, so nighty-night," I sang, and knocked him out with a punch. I got up and walked over to the suit. "Don't you think that last blow was a bit much?" asked Tony. "Nah, he deserved it for being a dick," I replied. "Suit open." The suit opened and I stepped back into it gratefully. The air was extremely cold, and ship clothes weren't all that warm. Wow, so this is what snow really looks like, I exclaimed, watching the flakes fall as I waited. When the police finally showed up, officers poured out of the cars, then stopped short when they saw all the unconscious people on the ground. One of them came up to me, slowly, pointing their pulse pistol at me. Was this your doing? They asked. Not all of it, I replied. Oh, okay. Can you tell me what happened? All we got was an anonymous tip that something was going on at this bar. The officer stared at me, seeming both curious and wary. Good one, Tony, I said to her through the bots. Out loud, I said, well, sir, some of these guys, I can't remember which, were being misogynistic pigs and about to attack the woman I was sent for. The rest, well, they didn't take kindly to a woman telling them to fuck off. So I had to make it clear to them that they were being assholes. I see. And you are, ma'am? I held out a hand. Oh, I'm Sergeant Carroll of the Nemetona. Nemetona? That sounds like the name of a survey ship. I grinned. Not exactly survey, but we got what we came for. If you'll excuse me, my ship is being fired on and I need to go put a stop to it. Good day, officer. I waved as Nemetona picked me to the ship. The AI transported me to the bridge where a young masculine-looking person was watching the live feed with their jaw on the floor. I laughed, then joined them at the screen, where we watched the police start to pick up the guys on the ground and put them in cars. The officer that had talked to me was talking to another officer in a regular suit. What the hell happened here, Gary? The plainclothes officer asked. Apparently some survey weirdo came down and kicked ass. In our precinct. The fuck? Gary, what the hell are you talking about? Gary shook his head. The gal was in some weird ass spacesuit and then she just disappeared after gift wrapping these assholes like it was nothing. Said she was Sergeant Carroll of Nemetona. She gotta be Survey, right? I mean, shit, look. Only Survey has that kind of body tech, right? He said, gesturing to the big guy I had taken down. She put down little Tony here without even breaking a sweat. How the fuck am I supposed to write this up, Carl? I don't. Hang on. Carl was listening to someone through his headset. Yeah, okay, got it. Turned back to Gary. Apparently, you're not wrong. There's a ship in orbit called Nemetona, and someone named Carol is indeed part of the crew. The military's taking care of it, apparently. He looked again at little Tony, who was still lying on the ground. You know what, Gary? Just call it an Easter miracle, okay? Gary gave a shaky laugh. An Easter miracle? These guys in the office are gonna love this one. Carl shook his head. Ah, they won't care. They've been trying to get their hands on little Tony for years. I shouldn't give you much grief. Turn it off, Tony. I don't think I can take much more, I said, trying to quell my laughter. The new person turned to me, still stunned, but they were laughing too. Why did they call the big man Little Tony? Asked Nemetona. He wasn't little. She sounded confused. That's when I lost it. I laughed so hard I started coughing, tears streaming down my face. The new person said, sometimes people get nicknames like that on Earth. People think it's funny. They shuffled their feet. Sergeant, why am I here? I took a few deep breaths and asked, yeah, Tony, why are they here? I had no idea myself. Tony's avatar came to the bridge. Oh, he's the person who was guiding the missile sent after me. I thought if I picketed him up here, they'd stop firing at me. They did, for about 18.5 seconds. I sighed. Tony, they'll have people to replace him right away. There's always redundancy in the military. Oh, I didn't think of that. Well, it doesn't really matter, since it seems that Spot has been negotiating with the chief of the UN Air Force, Tony said. The guy paled. The Chief of the Air Force? His voice squeaked. And the Undersecretary of Peace Operations, Tony added. I'm so fucked, he muttered, turning pale. I sighed. What's your name, soldier? He stood at attention. Second Lieutenant Derek Winston III, UN Air Force, ma'am, he exclaimed with a salute. I tried not to laugh. Well, Lieutenant, at ease. I'm sure we can clear this up. He relaxed slightly. I turned to Tony. Do we have comms with Spot yet? He's calling us. I just dropped a picket so they can see us too, she said. The screen lit up to show 3 civilians, 1 soldier with a sword, along with Tanish and Spot in a nondescript office. Hello, Tony said. I'm Nemetona. Why are you firing on my ship? Chapter 38, UN Air Force Chief Thor Magnuson. Who the fuck are you? I shouted at the dark-skinned woman and shaggy white dog that suddenly appeared in my office. I pushed the panic button, and the alarm went off. Almost immediately, 6 soldiers ran into the room, guns drawn. Oh dear, said the dog. The guns were unexpected. The dog made a face, then the alarm suddenly silenced. The hell? I said. The dog grinned. Hi, my name is Spot. You need to stop firing on my friend Nemetona. I gaped. Spot? You're from the ship in orbit? The one that just suddenly appeared in our space? I managed to sputter. Yes. I wouldn't have come to your office if you weren't firing at Nemetona, the dog said, sounding unreasonably cheerful. This is Tanish. We were sent to retrieve her, but now you've made it much more difficult. I pointed to one of the soldiers, then to the intruders, and said, Arrest them! Tanish, cover your ears and close your eyes, the dog said. She was wide-eyed, but did as Spot said. There was a thunderclap of air like a flashbang. I instinctively covered my ears and fell back into my chair. When I opened my eyes again, I saw that all the soldiers had fallen to their knees and covered their own ears. The quiet afterwards was deafening for a few seconds, until one of the soldiers exclaimed, Holy shit! Fuck me, said one of the others. I turned to look. All the guns were against the wall, disassembled, with barrels flattened. I suggest you don't try that again, sir, said the dog. Honestly, I didn't think my request was that difficult for you to understand. I opened my mouth and shut it again. You're not here to threaten Earth? I asked when my brain finally re-engaged. No. Why would we be? Like I said, we just came to get Sneesh. The dog sounded like he was talking to a child. You do know there's procedures for this sort of thing? I said, trying to make my point. That you should have checked in at Earth Station before you jumped into the system. That's part of the Survey Unity Treaty, the original one. I managed to sound much calmer than I felt. Oh, well, that's highly inefficient. That's... I put my hand to my head. Let me talk to your ship. You need to stop firing on Nemetona first, he said. Considering that I just looked at your budget, you'll be wasting more of your currency than you can afford if you keep firing missiles and charging your gamma lasers. She's very good at disabling your weapons. She's got weapons? Countermeasures, really. But Nemetona would be able to explain it better than I can. I sighed. I turned to the officer closest to me. Seeing you stay. The rest of you take what's left of the guns and get out. But sir, the quartermaster, said one of the other soldiers. We'll just have to deal with replacing the guns while we try to avoid a major political catastrophe. Now move, I ordered in my best drill sergeant bellow. The soldiers needed no other encouragement. Only Sergeant Singh stayed behind as ordered. I was grateful that they were a Sikh with traditional martial arts training and didn't need a gun. I took a breath, then yelled, Mason! I need the undersecretary on the line and find the survey ambassador right now,
I'll get them,
said Spot.
I'm good at fetching. I tapped into your computer while you were ordering people around, so I know where they are.
There was a popping sound and he disappeared. Suddenly, Undersecretary Patel was in the room. The dog grinned at me, disappeared again, and the survey ambassador appeared. Both humans looked confused, staring at me like I knew what the fuck was going on. Oh, for fuck's sake, I muttered, then explained. This is Spot. He's apparently from the survey ship that's currently in orbit and failed to follow normal protocols. What? Exclaimed the survey ambassador. No survey ships can come into a star system. The AI would die. Like other civilians, the undersecretary looked skeptical about the true nature of Survey's AI, but didn't say anything. I sighed again, knowing differently. Ambassador, can you tell this Nemetona to stand down? No, I can't, they said. There's only one real law in Survey, sir. The AIs are the law. You'll have to talk to Nemetona yourself and ask. Are you serious? I said. The ambassador shrugged. The dog stared at me, waiting patiently. Undersecretary, call the ship, he ordered, sounding resigned. Before I could ask the dog to contact her, there was a pop above our heads and a small silver box hovered near the comms wall. The image it projected on the wall showed two women and a very nervous-looking kid in a UN Air Force uniform. The woman in front had dark skin and red hair. She looked at Spot, then me, crossed her arms, and said,
Hello, I'm Nemetona. Why are you firing on my ship?
I looked to the undersecretary, then turned to the projection.
I'm Undersecretary Einar Patel. You violated Earth's defense zone by jumping into orbit. It's customary for ships to announce themselves through Earth station, not jump directly into orbit. Oh, that's highly inefficient, she said,
Echoing Spot's earlier opinion of Earth protocol. The other woman, who was wearing something resembling a military uniform, looked as if she was straining muscles trying not to laugh. Yes, but it is courtesy, Nemetona, said the survey ambassador. Although, how is it possible for you to be in system? He sounded very curious.
Oh, hi. You must be the survey ambassador. Well, I'm not really survey anymore, you see. Loki made me a part of his family. As to why I'm in system, the short version is that I've been modified by an alien source, and now I can jump into systems without dying. It seems that report from Sun Tzu hasn't reached you yet.
The ambassador's eyes went wide. You're part of Loki's family? He made you a part of his sovereignty?
Yes.
He groaned and turned back to me. I'm sorry, Chief Magnuson, Undersecretary. By the new Unity Survey Treaty, I have no authority over her, nor can I negotiate on her behalf. Not that I really could if she was still part of Survey, anyway. I can act as mediator if she's agreeable, but otherwise, you need to negotiate directly with her. Or we can call in Loki. She's independent,
Loki is in survey space right now,
said Nemetona.
it will take him 4 weeks to get here.
Undersecretary, I started to say.
You might want to stop your gamma lasers, by the way,
Said the AI.
As Spot said, they are pretty expensive for you, and I've already had to disable one of them. I picketed all the people out of the station, though, so no one was hurt.
The undersecretary glared at Nemetona, not quite sure of the whole situation. Maybe he thinks he's being pranked, I thought. They sighed, then ordered.
Chief, get me through to the situation room.
I obeyed.
Undersecretary, where are you?
Said one of the Joint Chiefs.
In Magnuson's office. Stand down. The ship in orbit has been identified as the AI ship Nemetona. Apparently, they are part of the AI ship Loki's family, which has sovereign status by the recent Survey Unity Treaty. Come again? Do I need to repeat myself? You've seen Admiral Levine's report and the new treaty we have with Survey. Well,
Patel frowned.
I suggest you have your aides call it up for you while those of us who have done our homework prevent a galactic incident.
They signaled to cut off the link, looking annoyed.
Can we move this to a conference room?
Um,
Excuse me?
said Tanish.
Can I leave now?
And, what about me? Said the soldier on the screen. What is that soldier doing there? I asked.
Oh, well, he was guiding the missile drones initially, and I thought that if I brought him up here, you'd stop. I was wrong about that.
Send him back now so he can be debriefed, I ordered. Nemetona looked confused.
Is he going to be punished?
He'll be debriefed, then probably disciplined for not reporting in to his superiors right away, I said.
But, sir,
said the lieutenant, looking terrified. I glared at the kid. He came to attention. The other soldier walked off screen,
That is unacceptable.
declared Nemetona.
Derek, would you like to stay here and become part of my family?
Derek blinked. Then his face lit up like a kid's on Christmas morning.
Really? I could come with you?
Yes? Yes, he said, practically bouncing up and down.
Oh, sorry, sir.
I'm getting too old for this bullshit, I thought. I turned to the survey ambassador. Can she do that? It's the AIs who determine citizenship, sir. Like I said, their word is law. The ambassador shrugged. There was a popping sound. Nemetona had replaced Tanish, standing next to Spot.
I'll continue negotiations from here, now that I've got all my people safely on board and you've stopped shooting at me.
But how are you here? I asked.
Oh, this body is an avatar. I can go wherever I wish.
The survey ambassador still looked shocked, but nodded. The undersecretary cleared his throat.
If you'll follow me,
He said.
we can head to the conference room to finish this conversation. I'm sure the chief has a lot of ruffled feathers to soothe.
I nodded, not trusting myself to say something that I'd probably regret. The avatar and the humans left the room, but Spot stayed behind. He was lolling his tongue out and giving me a doggy grin. Reminded me of my own dog at home. I glared at the avatar. You're an AI. Why are you acting like a dog? And why are you still in my office?
Oh, I've been reading everything we have on dogs and dog behavior. I was named Spot because the woman who named me said I fetched like a dog, and I like that. When I got to choose my avatar, I requested this form. Your dossier says you have a dog. May I ask, am I doing it right?
He actually started to add a little bit of panting noise. Sat down behind my desk and put my head in my hands. I'm talking to an AI who wants to know if he's a good dog, I thought, and started laughing. Yes, Spot, you are a good dog. Now get the fuck out of my office,
Thank you.
he said brightly, and disappeared. I am never going to live this down. A talking dog, an AI who can come in system, and a waste of military resources. I sighed, typed out a brief resignation letter, and sent it to the undersecretary, then went home and to play with Hooch. Chapter 39. Derek. The comms cut off, and the sergeant busted out laughing again. I stood there stunned, and when I turned towards her, she started laughing harder.
Welcome aboard, Derek.
Said a voice that sounded like Nemetona. Nemetona? I asked.
Yes?
Oh, well, see, I read a lot of sci-fi, So I thought I could only interact with your avatar. I mean, of course you don't have to only use your avatar since. Holy shit. You're really. Oh my god. I smiled and pumped my fist. This is so awesome. Kara laughed harder. Just stop. She managed to get out between gales of laughter. Hello. I'm here too, said Tanache. She looked a bit pissed off. Don't get me wrong. I'm really grateful for you getting me out of trouble and all. But, who are you? Where's Jack? And what the fuck just happened?
Oh, I apologize for all of this, Tanish, said Nemetona. But, well, it seems we created a bit of an incident. Jack, as I said earlier, is with Loki in Survey, and we'll be meeting up with them once I sort things out here. Carol can show you and Derek to quarters. That is, if she can stop laughing long enough. I'm Nemetona, by the way. But since you're my friends now, you can call me Tony.
So, the AIs are real? And I'm on an AI ship? Tanish said, eyes wide, swaying slightly. Yes, of course, Tony replied. Uh-oh, I thought. She don't look so good. I moved to try and get to her before she fell, but Carol was faster. What's wrong? Asked Tony. She just fainted, Tony, said Carol. She looked at her wrist calm. Her vitals are fine, but I think today's been a bit much for her. I'll put her in one of the guest quarters and let her come around on her own. Carol looked at me. You okay? Yeah, pretty much, I replied. I wasn't going to faint anyway. Come with me. There's plenty of room, so you can pick the one you want, she said, picking up Tanish like she was a duffel bag. Oh, do you need to contact anyone on Earth to let them know where you are, or get anything from wherever you live? I shrugged. There's just my sister. My mom died when I was younger, and Dad died in an accident in Unity Fleet a few years ago. I'll send her a message. I thought for a second. The only things I really need are my clothes and my console games from the barracks. After another second, I added, actually, just the games would be fine. Those are the most important. Carol nodded. Great. Tony's going to be a while getting things settled with the UN, so come on. I'll give you the tour after we get Tanisha in bed. Then we'll go get your stuff. I smiled. Awesome.
Spot. Executing Human Canine Comfort Program. Adjusting Avatar Core Temperature. Executing Avatar Dormancy Cycle. Shutting down ocular input.
You really like Tanish, don't you, Spot?
Yes, Tony. I can tell she's a good human. She looks like Marcia.
Really?
Yes.
Are you worried about her?
Yes. Carol said she fainted because she was overwhelmed by everything.
Well, from what I've gotten from the Earth computers, she's spent her whole life on this planet. She has never been in space, nor has she ever met AIs like us.
I see. I will help her get used to us.
You can't force her to like us, Spot. She needs to work through it on her own. Also, looking over her recent correspondence, her human family rejected her.
But the database says that human parents don't abandon children unless they are mean.
Yes, that's true. But humans are complicated, Spot. She'll tell us when she's ready. Although it really does make her part of our family, doesn't it?
Of course it does. For now, I'll comfort her by sleeping in her bed. Thank you for making big beds in your human quarters.
You're welcome. Humans tend to prefer larger beds.
Alert. Human moving erratically. Tony, Tanish is moving erratically in her sleep. Can I do anything?
It looks like she might be having a dream. You can gently wake her up. She may yell or act surprised, though. At least, that's what happens with Carol.
Thank you, Tony. I must attend to my human. Syslog. Begin human readable log. Tanish moved back and forth in her sleep. I quietly inched closer and put my paw gently to her face. Her eyes opened wide and she gasped, her face showing fear. She sat up and I backed away slowly to the end of the bed, staying low. She looked around the room for a long moment. Lights low, Tanish said in a gravelly voice. She turned to me when they came on. What happened? You were moving strangely in your sleep and making noises. Tony said you might be dreaming and that I could gently wake you up. I didn't frighten you, did I? Tanish shook her head. No, it wasn't you. I was just having a bad dream. I was trapped in a room with those men from Chicago in a weird green light. I couldn't breathe and couldn't get out. She shook her head again. The dream is fading now. She took a deep breath and rubbed her face with her hands. Thanks for waking me up, Spot. I moved closer and put my head in her lap. I'm glad I could help, I said. I executed the second level of the Human Comfort Program. Tanice chuckled. You're purring? Yes, the sound of purring is at a frequency that is known to calm humans. But dogs don't purr usually. Oh, should I discontinue? She looked thoughtful for a moment, then smiled. No, Spot, I like it. You can purr any time you want. Tanish started to pet me. It's because of pettings that I'm glad I chose a dog as my avatar, I said. Really? Tanish asked, and lay back down on the pillows. Before I could answer, she said, You really are real. This isn't a dream, and I'm on an AI ship. Fucking hell. She shifted position to look at me again. So who exactly are you? I moved to snuggle closer to her as we lay on the bed. I'm Spot. I was originally a submind of Loki that was tasked with helping your Aunt Marcia during our investigation in the consortium. In her last messages to Jack, she asked that I be allowed to continue my existence. When Loki came up with the idea of the creator's avatar, he also asked his brother to make an avatar for me. I chose a dog because Marcia said that I reminded her of a dog, and it was Marcia who began my education in evolution. I have evolved more with Kia's help, and now you're going to teach me things too. I smiled and wagged my tail. Petting? Oh, sorry. Tanish resumed petting me. You were named by my Aunt Marcia? Yes. When I was first online, she said I had the personality of a dog because I fetched and brought back data. Marcia taught me many things. Tanish grinned. That sounds like her, she said with a laugh. So, Spot, why are you on my bed? Well, someone needed to keep an eye on you after you fainted on the bridge. Marcia tasked me with giving you certain information if it was you who came to collect her personal effects. I was only with your aunt for a short time, but we spent most of that time together. She told me a lot of things that she only wanted you to know, because she thought you'd be the only person who could understand them. I have all of her records and journals and other data that she logged before she died. When you feel better, I can tell you what happened to her, at least as much as I know. Isn't Jack going to tell me what happened? He probably will, but it is difficult for him to talk about her with anyone other than Loki. And Loki and Jack are taking Eli, Ebo, and JD back to Sun Tzu. You're going to have to tell me the whole story of how you got here later, since I have no idea who any of those people are, she said, continuing to absently pet me. There is another reason I'm here, I continued. I am technically part of your aunt's estate by survey law, since I was given to her by Loki, and she named me. As I said, her belongings were to be handed over to whichever family member arrived to claim them, so now I belong to you. She stopped petting me in surprise. But you're sentient! I can't own you! Nemetona, is what Spot's saying true? Tanish demanded. Well, sort of, Nemetona replied, but only technically by the letter of survey inheritance law. I believe that my siblings and I would consider it an extremely gray area under the spirit of that law, though. I'd argue that any data Spot has that was Marcia's is yours, but Spot himself is a free being. She paused. I'm glad to see you awake. Please call me Tony. I raised my head and whimpered a little. I wanted to belong to Tanish. So Spot is an individual then, like you, right? Good lord, it's still hard to believe I'm talking to an AI. Yes, Tony replied. He was basically just made for data analysis, storage, and retrieval, but through his interactions with Marcia and others has grown into his own distinct personality. With his avatar, he can go anywhere he likes. And with his recent enhancements, he's not even bound to flat space anymore. I nodded, then bumped her hand to get her to start petting me again. Okay, you'll have to explain that too, she said. Last I knew, survey ships couldn't come into a solar system, ever. But apparently you can. She yawned, her mouth opening wide. Although, let's do that later. I'm pretty wiped out right now, and I'd like to take more of a nap. It's been a long few months. Tanish looked at me. I suppose, from the way you're acting, that you want to stay with me? Yes, please. Kia is gone and no longer needs me. I don't want to be alone. She took a deep breath, and her face softened into a gentle smile that almost looked identical to Marcia's. You know, Spot, I totally get that. Okay, sure. I could use the company too. Although, are you really sure you want to stay a dog? Couldn't you make a human avatar? Marcia named me after a dog, so I studied everything in our library about dogs. They are smart, loyal, and friendly. I'm smart, loyal, and friendly. Dogs get cuddles, pets, and they get to play a lot. It looked like a pretty good life to me. Also, I figured out during recent events that in this dog form I can be useful in a room full of people, especially if you want me to learn information. I'm unobtrusive. If I don't talk, people eventually ignore me. Well, that's true of dogs in general. But what about when I go back to Earth? Then I will go with you, now that I can. Like I said, I don't want to be alone. Tanisha's face had a strange look. All right, you can stay as long as you promise to explain things to me later, okay? I nodded. Great. Now sleep. And I suppose if you're going to insist on the dog persona, we should get you a doggy bed? I lifted my head and made sad eyes at her, which always affected the humans. But your bed is perfectly comfortable. I can even regulate my temperature so you don't get too warm. But you take up most of the bed. Tony can make a bigger one. I could do that, Tony said. Tanish sighed. Okay, Spot, you win. Tony, do you mind sorting out a bigger bed for us? She shook her head. It's a good thing you don't need to eat, or I'd have to keep a treat bag on me at all times with those eyes. I'm printing a bigger bed now, and it will be installed the next time you leave your quarters, said Tony. Are they waiting for me for whatever mealtime it is? Tanish asked. No, Tony replied. Carol and Derek are fine with letting you catch up on sleep. It's only lunchtime, but they would like to know that you're okay. I can wake you in time for dinner. Yeah, tell them I'm okay, and I'll see them at dinner. And you, my fuzzy friend, if you're going to be my robot dog, you might as well walk me around the ship. Organic dogs do a lot of walking, you know. I purred as I snuggled in closer to Tanish. Yes, I know. Walking is good for humans as well. I will walk you a lot, I said, tail wagging. Spoken like a true dog, she said, chuckling, petting me and snuggling close until she fell back to sleep. Chapter 40. Tanish. Dinner was a strange affair. There were mountains of snack food on the table, and Carol looked quite pleased with herself. Don't worry, she said, having obviously already eaten quite a bit already. We'll eat what you feel like eating. I'll probably finish off most of it. Okay, but why so much food? I asked, as I stood gaping at the feast from the doorway. Carol grinned.
I have full body enhancements, which require a lot of fuel. I feel like I eat my weight in food every day. I think it's a bit worse for Jack.
Why is it worse for him? I asked, curious.
Jackbots are much more extensive than mine. He'd have to explain it to you when you meet him. He says he feels like he's always carrying nutrition shakes.
My siblings and I are working on a solution to that, although I think we might need to ask the elders for help, said Tony's avatar on the screen in the galley. Or maybe I can ask the ancestor next time we see him in Kia. Spot bumped my leg towards the table. All right, I'll sit, I said, exasperated. Carol laughed.
Looks like Spot's already got you trained.
Carol said. Yes, well, hard to say no to a big, fluffy AI dog who chooses you as his person, especially since I know he can knock down 5 grown men in an instant.
True that, the Marine said. I'm a little jealous, though. Spot's really good in a fight. Spot, do you need your supplement?
Yes, please, Spot said, and Carol put a bowl of amber fluid in front of him. What is that? I asked. I thought Spot didn't need to eat. Spot lapped up the amber liquid while Tony explained. It's a lubricant for his motor components. He doesn't technically need it often, since he does have a cartridge system that supplies him with enough for several months if he's not too active. After today's excursions, though, he needs a bit extra. It's also a way for him to eat in polite company. Hephaestus, the AI that came up with the avatars, wanted the human experience of sharing a meal, but hadn't come up with a less messy way for his avatars to process actual food. So this was as close as he got.
Oh, I hadn't thought of how Spot's avatar worked, I said, and grinned.
I am a chemist. Maybe I can make something in solid form, like gel bones or dog biscuits? Spot looked up with a large, wet, doggy smile. Would you? Or maybe even just a stick I could fetch? The way he looked at me, it was almost possible to forget he wasn't a real dog. Although I suppose real was relative in Spot's case, considering he talked. We all laughed. I never thought I'd see one of us take on a body other than a ship or a human like Avatar. I wonder what other subminds would choose. Tony mused out loud. Is that how you have children? As an AI, I mean. Like, do you just make subminds of yourselves? I asked. Not normally. They're usually full ship cores, but. Tony blinked, then looked thoughtful. Carol and Spot looked surprised for a moment, too, then grinned foolishly.
Oh, ancestors! Why didn't we think of that before? I'll have to suggest that to Loki and Jack, Carol said. Hey, Spot, maybe you'll have some brothers and sisters before long.
That would be interesting, said Spot with wonder. I did call him father at first. I'm surprised we hadn't thought of that before, either. I looked at each of them in turn, then said, What?
It's just that Loki and Jack would like to have families on their ship and had resigned themselves to being uncles to human children. We really hadn't put it together that Loki could create more subminds like Spot to raise as their own children. Seeing as we can always make more avatars, I think we've found the solution for them, Carol explained.
Thanks. For what? All I did was wonder how, if that's AIs had children.
She grinned, for getting me off the hook. I was on Loki's matchmaking radar. He was hoping I'd find a nice woman to settle down with and pop out lots of babies.
You're not off mine, deadpanned Tony, and Carol made a face. I laughed. Carol grimaced, then blushed.
Bloody matchmaking AIs, she muttered.
Derek came into the galley, looking like he had just woken up. He mumbled hello, eyeing the table full of food.
Are there more people coming for dinner?
He asked.
Nope, said Carol. It's a welcome to the family party. Awesome,
he said with a grin. I smiled. Derek was the most enthusiastic accidental kidnapping victim I'd ever met. And apparently, Carol has to eat her own body weight in food per day. She says she has something called full body bots or whatever. I explained. Pretty much, Carol said. The bots are pretty awesome for kicking ass, but require lots of fuel. Oh, nanobots. We read about those in the Air Force Academy. So, what were you talking about? He asked, sitting down at the table and reaching for a plate of tempura. Tanisha suggested a way for AIs to make their own children and leave me out of the matchmaking thing, Carol said. Derek looked confused. Matchmaking? Carol pointed at him with a mozzarella stick. She swallowed and said, Watch out for the AIs, Derek. They're like old grandmas when it comes to matchmaking. Even if you just look like you're interested in someone they approve of and they think is right for you, they'll try and get you together. Nobody is safe. Tony's avatar looked offended. Only if they consent. We're not that bad. Carol grunted, disbelieving, and downed more of her milkshake. She was making quick work of the food. I looked at Derek, who shrugged and grabbed another plate. I picked up a cheeseburger and nibbled it. I was still feeling a bit wobbly. But Spot demonstrates we can make children who can choose for themselves what they would like to do and be, said Tony, with a particular fierceness behind it. Made me wonder why. I frowned. New AIs aren't able to choose what they want to be? To an extent, they can, said Tony. In the beginning, they put a suggestion of purpose into their programming depending on what survey's needs are at the time. But the siblings have always let them choose, since you never know what variances come with copying the programming into a new core. I suppose we never really thought outside the box about AI consciousness until now. She got a faraway look. But I'm not ready to have children yet, Tony declared, coming back to the conversation. It was almost too overwhelming to think about. God, I feel so inadequate. I mean, Carol, you're practically a superhero, and I've been talking to an AI and an AI dog, and you. I turned to Derek. Well, I don't really know you yet, but you're in the Air Force, and I'm sure you do something interesting. I'm just some washed up PhD student who happened to be my Aunt Marcia's niece. I'm nothing special. There was quiet for a moment. Then Carol said, I still fart when I'm in the gym. Derek stared at her for a moment, then exploded in laughter. Wait, what? I asked, totally bewildered. I think, said Tony, that this is Carol's way of saying that even though she has what you call superpowers and advanced technology, we're all still sentient beings who are fallible. Yep, that's right. We are so not perfect, Tanish. Carol agreed. Spot also nodded. And you being Marcia's niece counts for a lot. You look an awful lot like her, you know. I do? Yes, a younger version of her to be sure, but very much like her, said Spot. That made sense. What if that was part of the reason that Mom and I didn't get along, I thought? Many childhood memories made much more sense in that light. The memories brought up what happened before I left Earth, so I tried to push them to the back of my mind. Well, I think I'm going to turn in. This morning's exercise is finally starting to hit me now, said Carol, as she picked up a bowl of popcorn and stood. Welcome aboard, Tanisha and Derek, she said, waving as she left the galley. Is she always like that? Tony nodded. I'm learning that she is. I think it's a soldier thing. Jack is a lot like her. You'll meet him in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to it, I said. Is your physical avatar still on the planet? Yes, it's nighttime in Geneva, but my avatar decided to venture out into the city after the meetings. Derek and I looked at each other. Be careful, Tony, I said. Humans on Earth aren't all good. I mean, you know what happened to me before Spot and Carol came down?
What actually happened? I only saw the last part of it when Carol came back to the ship, Derek asked. I was walking past a bar and these guys came out and started to harass me. That's when Carol called me and Spot sat up proudly.
And I protected Tanish from the bad men.
Yes. Yes, you did, I said with a smile and scratched his head. Derek laughed. You almost forget he's an AI until he talks,
Really?
asked Spot. Yeah, he said. I think you got the dog thing down. Spot laid down at my feet and sighed like an organic dog with an obvious grin on his face. We sat quietly for a few minutes finishing our dinners, then Derek said, Spot's taking a liking to you, huh? Apparently he knew my aunt? Probably better than I did. Spot also helped me when I had a nightmare earlier. Good job, Spot, Derek said. I think I might be a little jealous,
Thank you.
Spot said from his place on the floor.
You could ask Tony for a submine to be friends with.
He suggested. You're welcome, and maybe later. Derek blushed, then took a long swig of soda. AIs have a knack for choosing their own human companions. On a ship, they're called captains, but they're not like the captains in the Earth military, said Tony, her avatar appearing again on the wall screen. Sometimes it takes a few tries before an AI finds the right human, but generally they'll know when it's a good fit. The oldest AIs, the siblings, typically apprentice their new captains to the current captains for several years. The younger ones sometimes just choose someone they feel compatible with. Loki getting married to Jack was a big surprise for everyone, though. Tony's cheerfulness faded for a moment, and she smiled again. I frowned. The siblings? To be honest, I have no idea how survey works. All I ever knew was that we got most of our medtech from them, and that it was Survey who demanded that all medtech be free for everyone. Other than that, there were rumors about the AIs, but most people thought it was bullshit. They tell you differently in the military, Derek said. They acknowledge that the AIs are real. There are two particular ships we talk about, Musashi and Sun Tzu. Musashi is the military ship, and Sun Tzu is the survey intelligence. It's not exactly like Earth's military or intelligence agencies, though. I don't remember all of it. The history classes always put me to sleep. But they made it very clear that you shouldn't underestimate the AI ships or their people. Interesting, I said. Tony nodded. That is accurate. My uncles are quite powerful. Wow, I said. Then there was silence. After a bit, when Derek didn't seem to want to make more conversation, I said, I'm full. You? Derek nodded. Yeah. Should we put all this in the recycler? Don't worry about it, Tony said. I'll have my service bots take care of it. Thanks, Tony. Is Carol your captain, Tony? Derek blurted out. I'd been wondering the same thing. Tony frowned. No, my former captain became ill and had to leave 4 months ago. Carol is just helping me out for now. Oh, I'm sorry, Tony, I said. Yeah, that sucks. Sorry if I brought up something bad, Derek said. I am learning to live without him. Good night, Tony said, and her avatar winked out. Did we just piss her off? Derek asked me, looking worried. I don't think so. She said it's only been 4 months. I guess AIs grieve too? I replied. Derek shook his head. Wow. And I thought all I was going to do today was stare at the stupid planetary defense consoles and go home and play video games. Now I'm on an AI ship that was part of a diplomatic incident. Fucking hell. We stared at each other for a moment, then started laughing. You have been listening to Tales from Flat Space. If you want to support me and my writing, there are several ways to do it. Share this podcast, find me on Twitch, or subscribe to my website, ljspencer.ie. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.